overcrowded graveyard, the scream will rise. Ghoulmates Entertainment presents Not Another Spooky Podcast.
Welcome back to Not Another Spooky Podcast, where we serve freshly popped horror reviews filled with blood, guts, and spoilers every Monday. I'm Mandy Spooks.
And I'm Rabbit Loves Horror. And we're here to remind you, theaters are not dead one bloody popcorn bucket at a time.
Whether you catch every new horror release in theaters or prefer streaming your scares from the couch, we've got you covered. The front half of the show is always spoiler-free, and don't worry, we'll give you a heads up when it's time to dive into the bloody details. The front half of the show never has any spoilers, and we'll warn you when it's time. Today, we're streaming and screaming to 28 Days Later. If you ever want to know what film we're covering next, you can check the show notes to see what you should watch that weekend. To set the vibe for this episode, we'll start with a round of Bone, Marry, Slash. Okay, so I wanted to save a few options for zombies because we also have 28 Years Later coming up soon. So I figured we'd start with the living. Yes. So first up, we have Gary. Is it Gary or Jerry?
No idea. I don't remember. We'll go with Jerry.
Okay. We're going with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, we're going with Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt from World War Z, Jim from 28 Days Later, or Shaun from Shaun of the Dead.
Huh. Okay, if I was younger, I'd probably marry Brad Pitt. But now that I'm older, I don't know. He's kind of weird to me now. So.
Why? He's weird?
It just, I don't know, he kind of just doesn't do it for me anymore for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I
get
him,
that.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So I think I'm going to slash Brad Pitt from World War Z.
Oh, you're slashing him? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And I think I'm going to bone Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. Just because he's a funny guy, you know? He's pretty cool. And then I guess I'm going to have to marry Jim, only because he's such a protector. And yeah. I kind of like that. What about you?
Well, it's the second week in a row that I'm going to have to fight you.
Oh my gosh.
I would definitely marry Jim. Yeah, I was totally smitten. And I have to admit, those protector qualities are definitely like something that reminded me a lot of Rudy too. So I was vibing. And then I will bone Brad Pitt though. Like, how could you not? Just for the clout.
Sure. Just to say you've done it.
Yeah. And then I would slash Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. He just doesn't do it for me. Sorry.
I get it. But also, I just realized that we saw Jim's booty so many times in this movie, and I was not about it.
That's true. And more.
Yeah, and more. Full frontal.
Yeah. All right. We have no haunted housekeeping for today, so we'll get right into our favorite chat of the week, keeping the spook alive.
It's alive. It's alive.
All right, Rabbit, how are you keeping the spook alive besides watching booties?
Well, to continue from last week we had watched Paranormal Activity. And then this past week, we watched Paranormal Activity 2. So it's been fun to kind of revisit an old franchise and kind of just like go back and rewatch them in order. It was good. It was fun. I liked how they kind of like went back in time and kind of like told the different side of the story, like how it happened right before, you know, Paranormal Activity started in her house. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I'm excited to go watch the third one and then keep watching all the other.
How many are there now?
5 or 6.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think the third one or fourth one was where I found out what it was actually about, and then I was like, lost interest.
Yeah, I know. Michael keeps asking me, like, what is it? I'm like, I don't want to ruin it for you.
Oh, he hasn't seen them?
He hasn't seen, like, I think after 3 and on, I don't think he's seen those. But,
okay.
Yeah, he's like, what is it? I'm like, well, I don't want to tell you because it's kind of not as exciting. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. And I don't want to say anything because I know he listens. But then also on top of that, I have also got my hands on a real Labubu. So
A
here's
real
my
one, not a
Labubu
lafufu.
from a couple weeks ago. So I actually have a real one, which is a whole thing to get one. Like, I don't know if anybody has been trying to get one of these things, but it's like the most impossible thing. It's like the new, I don't know, Pokemon cards, and they're getting scalped, and it's just crazy. So I'm gonna open this one.
Wait, show us the packaging. I remember it definitely looks different. Oh, like tilt it forward a little.
Is this good? Oh,
There we go. Yeah.
Ooh. So this is the version 3. So they're super, super fluffy. So let's see. And I already know which one it is because I use the Pop Now, which you open the box digitally, and then they mail it to you. So let's see. Ooh, it's so fluffy. Okay. Oh my god.
It's
it
cute.
Looks so demonic.
Is it me or is it bigger than your gray one?
They're definitely...
He looks
more
a little
fluffy.
bigger.
Yeah, a little bit bigger.
Is it softer too?
Yeah, it's definitely much more soft. Like, the material, yeah.
You can
But
tell.
It's so cute. I'll make sure to keep
Well,
them
if you're
safe, 'cause
looking to
I won't
rehome your lafufu,
lose it. Send it over to you.
I'll take all the knockoffs.
But yeah, that's my week. How about you? How have you been keeping the spook alive?
I have been detoxing from all the spook.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I have not been well. I don't know what is wrong with me, honestly. I don't think okay, so I was texting Rabbit about this earlier in the week, but I haven't been this scared or spooked since like I was a kid, honestly. And I don't know why. It's just, I just think everything's trickled, like, what's it called? Snowballed, and now I'm just not well. So it's very likely that I'm gonna be skipping Bring Her Back to do like a unique episode with Rabbit where I'll interview him instead. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But I did celebrate Spooky Prom Week, which was nice. It was a nice little like break from all the spookiness because slashers I'm good with. So I had a lot of fun. If you guys haven't checked out my channel, shameless plug for reals, like go check out our Spooky Prom vlog because it was really cute. Mr. Spooks went all out for me and I really appreciated it. But yeah, that's how I have been trying not to keep the spook alive because it is very much alive when I'm trying to sleep and it has not been good for my mental health.
Oh no, I feel so bad.
No, it's okay. That's what I wanted, right? I self-scared a little too hard.
True, yeah.
But it's all good. All right, Ghoulsters, it's time for the spoiler pack segment of the show. So if you don't want spoilers, turn back now. This is your final warning to pause and come hang out with us once you've seen the movie. All right, Rabbit, what are we screaming to this week?
Alrighty, so this week we are screaming to 28 Days Later, which released in 2002. It has a Rotten Tomatoes rating of certified fresh and also an audience rating of 85%, which is pretty high, and I kind of agree with that. Now for the summary, this is from Sam on IMDb. As a result of animal rights activist actions, a virus that the monkeys contain spread rapidly across Great Britain and infects numerous people. Jim, who fell into a coma following a bicycle accident shortly before the virus was released, emerges from his coma and finds that London is deserted. He realizes that he is not alone, as within the city there are those that have been infected and those that have not. Jim manages to find more survivors, and they head out to Manchester, where a group of British military personnel officers offer protection of any survivors from the infected. However, Jim and his colleagues have no idea what they're in for. So that was a quick summary, but to go into the extended summary, after arriving at the military base with his fellow survivors that include his love interest Selena, a cab driver Frank, and Frank's daughter Hannah, Frank is infected by a drop of blood in his eye. The soldiers pop out and kill him right in front of his daughter. Thinking that they were getting protection from the military, they find out that this is led by corrupt men. They attempt to recruit Jim to join the patriarchy and want to have Selena and Hannah be their new playthings. Jim fights back at the end and is able to kill off all the men with the help of using the infected. The trio then are able to escape and make their way to an isolated cottage, where they are eventually able to get the attention of a passing plane to help them rejoin some type of society. Okay, so now for the cast.
Take a breath. Good job. That was a lot of information.
That was a lot. So it was directed by Danny Boyle, who also did Trainspotting, 127 Hours, and Slumdog Millionaire, which is kind of really big movies.
Yeah. A lot of variety, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all over the place. Then for the actors, we have Cillian Murphy playing Jim, Naomi Harris playing Selena, Brandon Gleeson playing Frank, and Megan Burns playing Hannah. So for my initial reactions, I did like this movie. It was interesting to go back and kind of rewatch something that I have not seen in, I don't even know, years. So probably since 2002 when it first came out. I haven't seen it since. And I did forget about a lot of the scenes. So I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this actually happened. It was not my favorite. It's not my favorite zombie movie, but it is a solid, good movie. And I feel like the more the movie went on, the better it got.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I watched this maybe about 15 years ago in college, and you know me, bad memory, so I did not remember any of it. So it was like watching it new again, and I feel like it's not something you would typically think that I would like, but I really enjoyed it. And I'm absolutely in love with Jim, so I will fight you for it.
That's funny. Yeah. So to kind of get into the tone and the atmosphere, it felt very gritty. Like, it felt like an underground kind of movie. Kind of like you weren't supposed to be watching this. Like, it felt kind of like a found footage style in a way, where there was like some scenes, like it was like a part of the dark web or something. Like, you're looking into like the future or something. I don't know. It was just a weird movie that I don't remember feeling that way before. Where I was like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. This is kind of creepy. But also the music was really good. I forgot how the music was really good. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, the music is really good. It's interesting. So we went to go see it at AMC. And I have notes about direction and cinematography. So without getting too much into it, I kind of feel like if I had watched it alone, you watched it alone, right?
I watched it with Michael.
Oh, interesting. I feel like if I had watched it alone, I do think I would have gotten a little bit of the creeps. Because I can see why you're saying that. But seeing it in the theater was interesting because the format was... Obviously, it's a little dated now, so it was a little distracting at the same time on the big screen. So I kind of do wish I had stayed home to watch it, but I'm also glad it was actually really nice, sorry to digress a little, but it was really cool seeing it in the theater because there were actual super fans of the film there. So after the movie, they showed, before the movie played, they had a little thing that said stay after for a preview of a special scene from the upcoming film. So when it finished and the credits rolled, the little group of friends were sitting out, I don't know how to explain it. They were straight in a row, right? But then they some of them sat on the floor to do a little huddle while they were waiting for the credits. And you could just hear them oh, I forgot about this part. And they were just so excited. And people clapped after the film. So it was a great experience going to see it. But I do feel like I would have probably been more anxious too, nervous watching it by myself.
Yeah, I could see that. Because I actually was going to ask you that because we saw it on standard definition. So I don't know if that's the way it was supposed to look or it was just standard definition. So I'm wondering if when you watched it in the theater, was it also very gritty and kind of not 4K, I guess you could say.
Yes. So if it's okay, we can move on to direction and cinematography because I have lots of notes from Mr. Spooks, courtesy of Mr. Spooks. Oh, yes. So honestly, I have to talk to him and tell him don't talk to me about movies before we watch them. The way I learned with you of like, don't tell me how you felt about it. Because right before it started, he was like, interesting fact, this movie is so old that it was shot in SD and there's like no HD format of it. And that's all I could think about watching it. And I'm like, would I have noticed this if he had not told me?
Right.
But it was very interesting. He told me that it was... It's just crazy because it doesn't seem like this movie came out that long ago. But yeah, it was filmed in SD, and I'm really glad that you realized it felt like found footage, because that was actually Danny Boyle's like goal with the film. So they did use a digital camera, but they used a camera that is used for like found footage type of movies. And he really wanted it to feel visceral. So that's why it does feel that way. And like there's like messy cuts and like movements too and motion. And I kind of didn't like it, but I think it's because it just hasn't aged well anymore, as far as like it wasn't sharp and clear enough. Plus that felt kind of disorienting, especially like in a large screen. So it was a little distracting and disorienting for me, but I do get why he was going for that effect. And it's a bummer that Mr. Spooks couldn't join us, because he had like so many interesting facts about how this film was made.
Yeah, I would like to know all those interesting facts. I don't really, like for these types of movies, I don't really do like research on them. So it's cool to see that I received everything that Danny Boyle was trying to portray, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get it, because my notes are everything that pretty much that you said, because I actually really liked the cinematography. I thought it was really cool. There was like scenes where it was like so many jump cuts, like it would just cut in like a single scene, like of 5 seconds. There was like so many things cutting and happening, but I felt like that added to like the paranoia and the urgency of a scene, where you're just like, oh my god, he's got to go or they're gonna get him. But then there was like shots where it also felt like a Resident Evil game at some points. So I don't know if you ever played a Resident Evil game, but the camera angles are super weird. Like they're in very weird corners of a room, or like in off angles. And then you control the character to walk to a different room, but they're not like the central focus, I guess you can say, of the shot.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's what I was watching. So I don't know, maybe he was inspired by like a Resident Evil game and did something similar, where like there was like one scene where maybe there was like a kitchen, and it felt like a camera angle, like not a spy camera, but like a monitor camera.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And it's just like showing the room, and then you just see somebody run across, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of it. It felt a little like Resident Evil video game-ish, but also like found footage. So I did enjoy the cinematography.
Are you sure you don't have a background in film?
I just watch a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love hearing, well, this week specifically, it's really cool hearing like Mr. Spooks explain it, and then how you received it is really awesome. So yay, that's really cool to hear.
Yeah. So I guess the next thing we can get into is the writing and the pacing. I thought the writing was good. It did start off a little bit slow, but I think that the story that they wanted to tell was good, kind of like a survivor story, and having to overcome all these things that they ran into. There were some things that happened, I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like when they were like rushing through in that tiny car and bumping into everything in the tunnel, and I'm like, okay, I would feel so unsafe in that situation, and I think other people would too, because you don't want to make too much noise and have everybody have all the infected come towards you. So that part was like, I don't know if that's realistic. So there were just like little things that I was like, I didn't really vibe with, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I feel like I had that thought a lot throughout the movie of like, why are you making so much noise? Like they're never concerned about noise, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would agree. I did think that the beginning was a little bit slow, but I was really impressed with the story structure of this, because when it started, I think even up until that middle part where you said, excuse me, I needed to yawn. Up until that middle part where you were saying like the tunnel and stuff, I just kept thinking to myself, like, where is this story going? Like, I'm very curious to see like how you're going to end this film, because I just wasn't seeing like what's the end game until finally it's revealed that the dad wants to get them to the military base. But I was just really curious of like, where is this story going to actually go if there's like no humans? And I don't know. I was just very intrigued by it. And then when it unfolded, I was like, wow, I would have never in a million years thought that that's where this was going. And in a way, unfortunately, I feel like it's very realistic too, which made me feel gross. And but then also Jim's character arc was just like absolutely insane. Yeah. Everybody's. I just was blown away, honestly, with how the story came full circle, how things unfolded. And they kind of like went there with some like crazy topics that I don't think would normally be covered. Like it wasn't a safe, not that it wasn't safe, but it was very like, could have been very controversial.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What you're kind of like tapping into like the casting and the characters section. So yeah, I agree. Like Jim's character was cool to see because he starts off like as the noob or the newbie of this new world, and he's like lost and confused, and at the end he ends up being like the savior of everybody. So it was cool to see him kind of like become the hero of the story.
Yeah.
But I actually really liked all the characters. Selena, she was kind of off-putting in the beginning, like why is she so mean? But then you have to put yourself in her shoes and see like everything that she's probably been through to actually survive. So you're like, okay, I guess you do have to be cutthroat to actually survive in a world where something can change within within seconds. So you have to adapt to your surroundings. So you have to have your guard up pretty much the whole time to survive in an apocalypse, I guess you can say. And then I felt so bad for the dad when he got infected. Like it was such a stupid little mistake where I think he just threw something. I don't remember right. He either threw something or hit something, and like a drop of blood fell into his eye.
Yeah,
and that turned
from
him
the bird
infected.
movie.
I was like, really? They survive everything, and the thing that infects him is a stupid little accident.
I know. Well, what pissed me off in that scene though was like, why didn't the military come out sooner? Yes. Like that could have been avoided if they revealed themselves sooner. So that really upset me. And I don't know. So I guess this is part writing, part characters. I also wondered, once they reveal that they want to use the girls, I was like, did they intentionally want the dad to be removed from the situation? Because he would be an even bigger, like, hurdle with the daughter, with Hannah. But then also I'm like, well, he was older and overweight. Like, they could have taken him either way. So, like, it was just a really weird, like, why? I don't understand why they were hiding. It was strange.
Yeah, that's probably like another thing that was weird with the writing. Like, why did this happen? Like, why did they jump out at that moment? Maybe they were trying to scope them out, maybe to see if they were like bitten or something. But I feel like even in this world, in this zombie world, the infected like turn quickly. Like it only takes a couple of seconds. Like it's not like they were bit like an hour ago and then they turned. It's like within seconds you start turning to an infected. So yeah, the writing was weird in that part, but I don't know, maybe I'm missing something of why they waited so long. But yeah, I didn't really get that part either.
Yeah.
To get into the kills and scares, I didn't think it was that scary, but the kills were cool at the end when he's kind of like fighting back with all the men, and he uses the chained up infected to help kind of like kill everybody else. So that was really satisfying to watch at the end, where he finally was able to kill everybody and kind of like save Selena and Hannah from whatever they were going to do to them.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like it was so cool to see that he basically had them kill each other. Like, he pinned them against each other, which was really fun to see, and because they obviously deserved it, but also it's just like, they're supposed to be like military trained men, but that's what happens because they got cocky and they just had the wrong priorities too. So the madness was crazy, but I will say that the scariest part for me, I literally gasped. I was like, oh, and Rudy turned to look at me because he knows me so well that he knew I was going to react that way, was when it's the rats coming after them in the tunnel. I felt so bad for Hannah. I was like, poor girl. Okay, but also, sorry, I'm kind of like moving around with these topics, but speaking of casting, Hannah was such a cool character. Like the fact that she knew how to like change the tire and that she was like such a badass driving at the end. Like she was a cool kid. Like her dad taught her well.
Yeah, for real. Okay, now to get into the practical effects and CGI. I really liked all the practical effects that they used in this movie. The contacts that they used were really scary. Like, I don't think I've seen contacts like that looked like super demonic, but also, I don't know, like in a way they were glowing, but not really, I guess you can say.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I really liked the effects.
And I think too, I always felt they always showed them in those like quick cut scenes. So it was even more like, because I just wanted to like see them a little bit longer. Like, just let me take it
in. Let me inspect
it.
Yeah, what else? I don't know. I'm very curious to see what portions were CGI and what portions were practical effects. Because last week I had made a comment saying that I thought that all the effects in Final Destination were CGI, but then Mr. Spook sent me a message on Instagram, kind of sending me a video of how they made these deaths with practical effects, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you can do all that. And then, you know, the algorithm, like, oh, you like to watch this, and I started seeing stuff from the new movie. So the part where he's getting sucked into the MRI machine. Was actually like a practical effect. So, yeah, I was fooled.
I know. So I was really surprised to see that, too.
So, yeah, I'm very curious to now, like, kind of maybe do a little bit more research when I talk about the movies to kind of see, like, what did they use as CGI and what was practical effects? Because, yeah, for this movie, I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Like, what was CGI? What was practical effects?
Yeah. I will say, not to, like, say any spoilers or anything, but the new movie or, like, the clip we got to see after the movie, me and Rudy were, like, floored because it was, like, completely opposite of, like, the whole... Well, just in the one scene we saw, it was more, like, stable cinematography. And though it had, like... I'm not going to share what it was, but there was this, like, one part where, like, it did do, like, cuts, but it was weird. It, like, switched perspectives of, like, where the camera was, and it almost felt like the whole, like, Final Destination style of, like, how crazy the, like, kills look and stuff. So afterwards we were just like, whoa, that was like really different and like really exciting, because all we've seen was like the super gloomy trailer they've been releasing with that stupid alarming song. I know it's a poem, but it's so creepy. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a little bit of excitement for the film.
No, yeah, I like the weird cinematography stuff, but yeah, the alarm sound, it still creeps me out. Like, I don't know why things like that, like lullabies, or like you said, it was a poem, just sounds so creepy when it's read in like a slow tone. So yeah, I'm excited. It looks really spooky.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, so to get into the next topic, which is going to be themes and symbolism, I couldn't really come up with anything, like what themes this movie was trying to portray, but I guess the biggest thing that stood out to me was absolute power corrupts people. When you have no checks and balances, things can go crazy, go into chaos, and you're led by corrupt people that just want to do whatever they want and have no one check them.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of themes that could be taken away from it. That's definitely one of them. Initially, I was feeling like just to like not to stop being kind to others, because even the situation, like, I'm not saying it's okay, but like they could have nicely handled the whole like continuing. So like if you're for any reason listening to this episode and you haven't seen the film, when they go to the camp, they basically start like groping Celine and just like being gross with her. And then finally the main guy, I don't know what he was, commander, I don't know, I don't know military terms, he tells Jim like, I promised them women and we need to keep like humanity going and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like there are so many other ways that could have been handled, like honestly, respectfully, like they could have had that conversation with Celine, the adult, not involved Hannah, and even waited for Hannah to get older, because like, what are they going to do that whole time? Like, they could wait. Or they could have even just, like, played it out organically and been like, let's see if anyone falls for Celine, like, genuinely. So it's just, like, you can still be productive and, like, meet goals and be kind to people without being disgusting. But the main takeaway for me was that love matters. Because Celine is so, like, that's kind of the theme throughout the film. She's like, no, like, never hesitate. It doesn't matter who it is. And then she tells him, like, I realized that there's no point to just continuing to survive. What matters is, like, seeing Hannah and her dad have love and those kind of things. And then by the end, like, I love the scene when he's like, that was more than a heartbeat. And it's just like, yeah, like, that's the point, is like, what's the point of living if you're not living for anything and you're not feeling and experiencing things? So for me, that was just like, wow, like, I would have never anticipated that kind of message out of a film this heavy.
Yeah, now that you're putting it into perspective, I feel like Selena or Celine and Jim had like the opposite trajectory. So Jim turned into this like tough protector person, and then it was the opposite with her, where she was like this super tough guard up person, and then as the movie went on, she got softer. So yeah, now you're putting it in perspective, like, okay, that was kind of cool. I like how they did that. They had their own growth journey in the movie, and
Yeah, I really liked it. And not to mention Hannah and, like, Hannah's relationship with Celine. Like, I really loved just how, like, Celine protected her, because she was so hard and tough in the beginning that you would have thought she would have been like, no, like, Hannah's just a... What are they called when, like, someone's just going to be, like, a risk to someone? Oh, my gosh. I'm
a
blanking.
liability?
Yeah, like in the beginning, she would have just considered her a liability, the way she said, like, they need us more than them. And, like, she still did everything she could to protect her. And, like, I don't know. It was just so good.
I for some reason, I did not pick up on that. But now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh, yeah. This was more than just a zombie movie. Okay, I guess now to get into our final wrap-up. Our final thoughts of this movie. I will say that now that I've seen so many zombie movies, zombie shows, played video games of zombies, I will never go, if this ever happens in real life, I will never go to a military base. Like, I will not follow the radio to go to this random military base, because I'm like, I know what happens in these, and I'm not not interested. I think in this specific movie, I would have just lived at the grocery store that they went to. Yeah. Like, I would have just lived there, lived my last days at the grocery store, drink my sodies, eat my Little Debbies, and then once just like live my life out eating all the snacks. And then once those days are done, then I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. Because what's the point of going on if the world is going to, be corrupt and, just pretty much the end of the world. But yeah, the ending was kind of interesting to me, because I feel like they finally were at a place where they were happy. Like, they found this like abandoned cottage, and they had like all these reserved foods there, and they had all this land, and they were safe from like the city. So I don't know, I would have even been like, okay, I'm cool just chilling out here in this cottage for the rest of my life, and, living off the land and, crops and gardening, and just like live off of like that. So it was really interesting for them to still want to find society and find other people. So yeah, I'm not sure if they were rescued at the end. It kind of just like cut, like they saw the plane, they had the help sign, and then I guess the plane saw them, and then just like the movie cut. So I'm very curious to see if they're going to continue that into the future movie, or like what happened after that.
Yeah, okay, so a few things. It's funny you bring up the whole like I would just want to be happy in the store and that's it. That's like no need for more. I constantly think about like, I don't know how people in these movies or in general, because I'm sure real life things like this, not this extreme, happen, but like similar. I don't know how people have like keep finding the will to live. Like I just genuinely don't. I have like, if there's one thing for sure is that if anything were to happen, Mr. Spooks has like the best survival skills ever. Like we would not survive if it weren't for him. But also I tell him, I'm like, do you really want to live that way though? Like I would just want to go like Jim's parents, like just knock us out. Yeah. We'll die happily together. Like I'm not meant to struggle in this life. So I don't know how people find that great. Even Celine, like when she was surviving and she wasn't in love, like what kept her going? It's crazy to me. But secondly, I wanted to share that the ending was actually changed to this film. So originally, Jim was supposed to die, and I don't remember if they screened it and it was too heavy or if the studios just knew like, okay, this version is just way too heavy. But they decided that having Jim die was just way too heavy because you see him and you root for him, and then for him to just die was just like extremely depressing. So they did add in that scene at the very end last minute, which kind of makes sense to me because I realized like when I was watching it, it kind of felt like I was like, wait, I'm confused. Like, did he just wake up from being injured and knew they were going to do this like waving thing, or has he already been awake for a while? So I thought that was weird. But then when Mr. Spooks told me like, oh, they added it in after, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I don't know if there's a copy on YouTube or anything out there of the original ending, but I really want to see it because I'm a masochist like that. I don't know. But it's just interesting to see like the different endings. But I will also say that I am going to be so pissed off if they don't come out in the new one. I know that Cillian Murphy is coming back as Jim, but we don't know if like he's gonna be alive or there's just flashbacks or like what is the scenario. I know a lot of people thought that he was the zombie that they show in the trailer, but it wasn't like him. Thankfully. I know they tricked us, but we haven't. I don't think there's confirmation if Celine or Hannah's returning, and I'm just like, I don't want another one if they're not in it, and I want all of them back.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It would be so weird if they didn't bring them back and kind of finish their story, even if they kill them off. Not that I wanted to kill them off, but I'm like, you can't just leave us hanging. Like, you left us on a cliffhanger, and then you're going to do, like, a continuation and not touch on that. So, I don't know. I hope they kind of resolve their story. But, yeah, it is concerning to hear that they only brought him back.
Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, there's not enough details yet. But also, I'm wondering, I don't know if they're in 28 weeks later. Because if they are, I'm totally going to watch it either way.
I don't remember. I was trying to remember, like, what happened in 28 weeks later. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think it's a completely different story. Like, I don't think the characters in 28 days later are the same in 28 weeks later. I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're right. I just looked it up because it was killing me. I was like, if it is them, I'm going to go watch this as soon as we hang up. No, it's with Jeremy Renner and Rose Byrne. Well, that's kind of a cool cast, too. But no, okay, well, you're giving me hope, though, because since they cut that movie out of this new trilogy, that's giving me hope that maybe they are going to continue their story. Please bring them back.
I know. We need closure. We need to know what happens.
Yeah. 28 years later.
28 years later, we need closure.
Yeah. All right, Ghosters, it's time for It's Freaking Bats. On a scale of 1 to 5, how many bats would you rate this film, Rabbit?
Okay. I'm not very sure on my rating just yet. I feel like I need to think about this more after we've had this long conversation about this movie. Because initially I was going to give it a 3. But then I felt like as we had this conversation, I feel like that's too low. So as of right now, I'm going to go with 3.5 bats. What about you?
I love when I convince you that something's better. I would give this 4 bats. If I had not seen Sinners this year, I would have given it 5, honestly.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. I'm going to say this so many times for the rest of this freaking podcast. I think that's just the standard. And now that I know, like, this is what a 5-bat film truly is, it's going to take a lot for me to rate something 5. But this one came really close. Like, it's not my typical watch, but I really loved it. Okay, and before we part ways for the week, let's have a little moment of Be Kind Rewind. We're all about the vibes here, so if this film hit just right, here are a few spooky picks you can rewind to match the mood, the madness, or the mayhem. What's your pick, Rabbit?
Okay, so for Be Kind Rewind, I'm going to go with Train to Busan. I feel like it had some similarities to this movie. It's obviously a zombie movie set in Korea. But yeah, it had that same kind of feel where you get introduced to a character and then you kind of like rooting for them as the movie goes on. So it felt reminiscent in that way. Obviously it's zombies, and then you're also rooting for the main character to kind of like overcome not only the apocalypse, but other social issues that are happening. What about you?
I have got nothing. I honestly have nothing. I think, honestly, I just feel like zombies are going to make their huge resurgence this year. We also have, I think Return of the Living Dead is coming back. Am I saying that wrong? I think. Don't fact check me on that. Or yes, fact check me on that. There is another big zombie movie coming back in December. And then 28 years later is actually going to be a trilogy. And the third one is coming out at the beginning of next year. Did you not know that?
No.
This is a trilogy. Yeah, so the next one already has its release date too. And I think it's like in January or February. So zombies are back, baby. So do your homework, watch zombie movies. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think everybody got a little burnt out from zombies for a while. It was kind of like the whole superhero thing too, where it was like they were everywhere. But I don't know. I think that this is their time again. So get ready, watch your zombie movies, go back to the classics. I know Mr. Spooks is going to have me in zombie training.
Oh yeah, I know Mr. Spooks loves zombies.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Ghosters, we hope you had a bloody good time hanging out with us today. Bring Her Back is popping into theaters this weekend. I do want to give you guys a warning that I've seen a lot of trigger warnings for this film. And like I said, it's very likely I will be skipping it. But Rabbit is holding up the fort, so we'll see you here next Monday with our freshly popped horror review.
And remember, keep cinematic horror alive on the big screen and go see something spooky this weekend.
Until next time, sending you ghouls and kisses. Bye.
Ha 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 ha.